shot! Pushes off to Jones, kicks it out to Aaron Martin, 4 seconds. Oh my goodness! He makes the three!
Are you kidding me, Aaron Martin?
Well, welcome to Wildcat Week. I'm Roger Alcock. The women's volleyball team, they are wrapping up their season this week at the NAIA National Tournament in Sioux City, Iowa. The Wildcats traveled to Iowa during this past weekend. They opened up pool play on Tuesday night. Well, in their first contest, they took down the 6th-ranked team in the nation, Missouri Baptist. Now, IW kept pace with Missouri Baptist throughout the match. In fact, they took the opening set 25-20. The Wildcats looked to capitalize on that momentum, but Missouri Baptist certainly picked up their game, and the Spartans proved to be extremely tough in sets 2 and 3 as they took those sets by 5 points each. Now the Wildcats couldn't stop the Spartans' attack, and they fell in the 4th set by a score of 25-18, so the Spartans took this match in 4 sets, 3-1. Remy Becknor and Bianca Cifaldi led the way for the Wildcats. Buckner had a team-high 12 kills, and Cifaldi added double-digit kills as well with 10 in that match. Now, the Wildcats also played last night as they took on Northwestern College in pool play. The Red Raiders of Northwestern won their first contest against Jamestown. So in this contest, Northwestern was the 2nd straight top 10 opponents for Indiana Wesleyan. They came ranked number 7 in the nation. The Wildcats again started out fast and jumped out to a 1-set lead as they took the opening set 25-22. Now Northwestern answered back in a back and forth set number 2. They eventually tied it up at 1 set each. The Red Raiders then continued to play well while the Wildcats struggled, and the Wildcats fell in 4 sets for the 2nd straight night. So the Wildcats dropped to 0-2 in pool play. Next, they will take on Jamestown tonight in Sioux City, Iowa. So that'd be a big match for the Lady Wildcats out there. Well, the women's basketball team now is ranked number 5th in the nation, and in the latest NAIA national polls, they continue their red-hot start to the season. And as they took on their conference opponent in Grace College, the Lancers up in Winona Lake. Now, early on, Emma Stahl, she finds Chelsea Winner down low, and the Wildcats open up the game red hot. Carly Cottrell, she hits a big 3, and the Wildcats jump out to a 10-0 lead early on. Tori Kraft, she's been hot as well. She would hit from downtown a couple times. She ended the night with 12 points for the Wildcats. Erica Isham, it goes inside. She got a bucket here in the second half. Again, the assist from Emma Stahl. Once again, we see Erica Isham working inside, as she banks that one in off the glass. Tori Kraft, as we mentioned, with the big night, finishes off the Lakers with another big basket. But the Lady Wildcats dominate the Lancers 66-43. Katrina Blackman had 11 points. Carly Cottrell added 10. The win is the 2nd in the conference for the Wildcats this season. The women sit at 8-1 overall on the season, 2-0 in conference play. Well, it's time to welcome in the head coach of the Lady Wildcats, Steve Brooks. And Coach, I think 8-1 is nice. You like that? But probably bigger or more important, and it seems weird, we're just into December, but 2-0 conference play, and that's probably even the bigger thing right now, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing for the right to go to the national tournament, so those games in the conference carry a lot more significance than our non-conference games, even though I do believe those games are as important in terms of, getting yourself in a position to get to the tournament. But yeah, it's good to be 2-0 in the conference.
Well, up at Grace, a place that's not easy to play, and they can play well up there. And they've given you some really good games up there. But
right.
You guys really picked it up on the defensive end, at least it seems like, and had a pretty good defensive performance that kind of set the tone for this ball game, even though you shot the ball well early.
Yeah, we were up at one point. I think it was 22-4. And with 3 minutes to go in the half, they had only scored 9 points.
Yeah, I think it was, 37-9 at that point?
Yeah, and I think at that, we kind of came out of the gate a lot faster than what they had anticipated, and it gave us a chance to make a statement, and they never really recovered. And our kids did a really good job of maintaining their intensity throughout the game, and we got a chance to play everybody, and that's always a good thing.
Well, that's one of the things I was going to ask you, because you go into the locker room at the half, you're up by 20, 37-17. Sometimes it's a little difficult for a team who's had such a great first half, to come out with that kind of same fire and intensity in the second half, but you were able to build up to a 34-point lead a couple times in the second half. So it seemed like you were able to maintain that kind of consistency, intensity throughout.
Yeah, I think the kids remembered that they got beat up there last year, 69-67, in a game that I think all of us still was hanging on to a little bit as we went up there last night. So I think that motivation, as much as anything, kind of propelled them in the second half to go out and say, hey, this is not going to happen again. And our seniors did a really good job of leading and keeping us focused on the goal.
I wanted to ask you about maybe a younger player who we saw a little bit last year, but this year is seeming to get a little more time and producing. That's Tori Kraft. She is Did you know she could shoot the three as well as she is? Because she's been lethal from beyond the three-point arc this season.
Yeah, it's just dumb coaching, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I really truly believe that this whole thing is, this experience is a process, and she has really kind of bought into the process over the last 2 years, and she made incredible improvement going into last year, and she got more playing time a year ago, and now this year she's taken another step, and it's exciting to watch, because it's a kid that you can, as a coach, you're excited because you know the kind of time she spent in the summertime to get ready to do what she's doing, and it's been a major positive for us.
Carly Cottrell, she's been shooting the ball well for you guys. She's when you have someone like that who is shooting well from the perimeter, it's certainly helping Katrina and Erica inside.
Yeah, and we needed to get started right. They came out, they were going to zone us, and Carly hits a couple of threes right away, gets us off and confident about playing against the zone, and it was good. I thought our ball movement was really good. I think our kids understood and found the people in the right places. Here, that's something Carly did over the summer.
I was going to say, a little new element to her game.
Yeah, she kind of was a catch and shoot three, but she's now put on the floor and hit the pull up, and this is just really good ball movement right here. We get the ball moving, and it's hard for them to guard us, and we get a wide open look, and she nails it. So.
Well, and to be shooting the ball like that, she's got to be having some confidence in her game right now.
Yeah, hopefully, and she's going to need all of that and more on Saturday.
Well,
so.
That was the next question, because all this sets up for the biggest game of the year to this point, I would think, on Saturday, because it's the defending national champions in St. Francis, obviously one of the top teams in the conference and in the nation again this year. And you have them on your home court. This is a huge game.
Well, yeah, because we were 0-3 last year. They kind of had our number last year, and we'd really like to turn the table on them. But they're a very good team, very well coached. They got a lot of talent. They probably have the two best players in the league in Brooke Ridley, who was a first-team All-American a year ago, and then Akaya Taylor, who's a transfer from Michigan State. Who's a cut above just about anybody in our conference. She is. Yeah. I mean, there's nobody else in the conference quite like her. I haven't seen Marianne yet, and I know they got two kids from Portugal that are really good. But Akaya's a different level athlete for our conference, and so it's going to be a challenge, and it'll be interesting.
Well, certainly looking forward to a great team effort on Saturday.
Yeah, that's what it's going to take.
No doubt about it. Well, thanks, Coach, for coming on in, and we look forward to that great game on Saturday. All right, well, when we come back, we'll talk with the head men's basketball coach, Greg Tonigal, about their perfect record so far and the #1 ranking in the country. So that's coming up next on Wildcat Week. Welcome back to Wildcat Week. Now, the men's basketball team, they're still perfect on the season. They now sit at 10 wins against 0 losses. The The Wildcats, they took on the Lancers of Grace College in Lucky Arena this past Tuesday night in a big Crossroads League matchup. Certainly, Grace came in looking for the upset, but Josh Maywar got things going early for the Wildcats. Johnny Marlin keeping it rolling for the Wildcats. They hit that pull-up jumper. Bob Peters comes off the bench, taking this inbound pass and puts that one in for the Wildcats. Maywar showing some range as he steps back and hits the three. And right before halftime, Johnny Marlin with the nifty play inside gives the Wildcats the lead at the buzzer. Now going into the second half, Zach Juan Vandewater hit this big three. The Wildcats start to break this one open. It's Lane Mahurin working his way inside for 2 points. Then Lane on the run gets that bucket to fall. Now Grace tried to fight back and get back into this game. They cut into that Wildcat lead towards the end of the ball game, but the Wildcats were just too much. Again, Lane Mahurin working his way inside. A big night for the Wildcats with the 85-80 win. They remain unbeaten on the season. In fact, they haven't lost a game since last March the 1st. Well, Lane Mahurin had a career high 21 points for the Wildcats on the night to go along with 11 rebounds, and Josh Maywar added 17 points as well. Now the Wildcats travel to Fort Wayne to take on the Cougars of St. Francis University on Saturday in what should be a huge Crossroads League matchup. And now joining me is the head coach of the Wildcats, Greg Tonigal. And Coach, thanks for coming on in. Want to talk a little bit about this game against Grace. You made us a little nervous there at the end. You had a big lead up 18 points. And I don't think the outcome really was ever in doubt, but they did kind of cut it down there towards the end and at least made a couple of us old-timers nervous.
Well, you never want to finish that way because we had played so well in that second half and we'd built that lead, and you got to give them credit for not going away. They continued to fight.
Now, the first half, a little bit back and forth. You got a couple times where you thought you might break it open, but credit Grace, they were able to keep it within striking distance, but you guys helped them out a little bit with the turnovers in that first half.
Yeah, we were sloppy, I felt. We weren't as sharp as I thought we needed to be, especially playing a good defense like that. You've got to come with your A game, and you got to be able to execute, and we didn't do that, and we found ourselves in just a nip and tuck game at halftime. And
we talked a little bit, Coach Kessler, before the game, and they're probably not the offensive juggernaut they usually are, but they have stepped up their game on the defensive end. They're a pretty good defensive team.
I think it's the best defensive team we've played all year long. I mean, they've got guys that can really guard you at each position, and I think it starts out front with them, but then they can put a big 6'11" shot blocker, just sit him at the rim. And probably the thing that helped us the most was his 5 fouls or 4, whatever he had, and he had to leave the game early, and then we were able to open things up a little bit.
Well, you mentioned there's a 6'11" guy in the middle. There was some really good battles going on there. Josh Maywar is not 6'11", but he's strong, and I think he's a little bit deceptive with his athletic abilities, and he can step outside. He I thought, represented himself very well against a pretty tough post player.
Josh continues to get better. He's finding his role in our offense because it was different for him last year at his previous school, and I thought our post really came alive. Our guards have carried us offensively for the most part, but our bigs really showed up on a night when we needed them to show up. Lane goes for career high 21, Josh goes for 17, and they just did it in a variety of ways.
Lane was huge for you guys on the road against Bethel in the second half especially. Same thing against Grace. He just kind of elevated his game there in the second half, and he has developed some really nice post moves as well as being a pretty good defender.
Lane can score in a variety of ways, inside and out. He can also pass the ball. I think there's just so much upside to Lane. And the thing is, he wants to get better. He was in yesterday watching film. Coming off a career high, he says, I want to watch film of what I can do better. Well, as a coach, it doesn't get any better now when a kid is hungry after having tasted success.
And the great news is he's just a sophomore, and you've seen that improvement from the freshman year to this year. It's just, I think he's kind of got a rare combination for a post player in terms of his ability to work around the basket and his quickness. He's a very quick post player.
He's a good driver. It's funny because he's different than his brother. They have totally different games, but they both are pretty versatile. His brother could shoot it and drive it. Lane can drive it, and he can score around in the post area. And like I said, the sky's the limit for him. He's going to continue to get better.
Another guy coming off the bench for you, another sophomore, Bob Peters, playing really well for you guys.
Yeah, Bob's been awesome for us. I mean, when you can bring a guy off the bench that can instantly provide offense like that just changes the way, you know, we can play, but it also forces the defense to change a little bit. And he continues to score in a variety of ways.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the conference up to this point. I don't know if you could have 3 bigger games to start off the conference season, really, when you're on the road at Bethel, at home against Grace, and on the road at St. Francis. All those guys are teams that should be or are, you know, perpetually in the top half of the conference or contending for a title. So this game Saturday at St. Francis is another big test.
It really is. I mean, I don't think, like you said, we could have had a more difficult start to go on the road to the 2 best teams and then play probably the 3rd best team, at least in my opinion, at home. So it is what it is, and we've taken it one game at a time. And Saturday is going to be, you know, as difficult as any we've played. They're a great team. They're well coached. They're playing really well right now, and so it's going to be fun though.
Yeah.
I mean, this, you know, everybody talks about the Crossroads League. Well, this is what you get.
Yeah.
You get these big matchups. You get great teams going at it, and that's why kids want to come here and play.
Yeah, it should be a great one. So good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a look back at a very special season to remember for the men's soccer team. Coach Joel Schumann will join us here in studio to talk about that. So don't go away. It's coming up next on Wildcat Week. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. The men's soccer team, they hosted Vanguard University in the NAIA National Tournament opening round on November 22nd. Our Peter Mercer was there to cover the game, and a very tough loss for the Wildcats.
It was a game of inches at Wildcat Field. The Wildcats took on the Vanguard Lions in the opening round of the NAIA National Championship. Both teams came into the game riding win streaks, with Vanguard being on a 6-game win streak and the Wildcats being on a 17-game win streak. The Wildcats dominated in shots all night, outshooting the Lions 9-2, with 5 shots on goal in the first half and 8 shots for the Wildcats in the second half. Vanguard did not manage a single shot in the second half. The Wildcats were inches away from scoring numerous times, but just couldn't find the back of the net. Regulation play and OT play wasn't enough to finish this one, though. The Vanguard Lions defeated the Indiana Wesleyan Wildcats in penalty kicks 4-3, ending the Wildcats' season. The team finishes 18-2. For Wildcat Week, I'm Peter Mercer.
Well, joining me now is the men's head soccer coach, Joel Schulman. And Coach, thanks for joining me. And as we're watching some of those highlights, you're just like incredible. 2 times in the overtime shootout, they hit the post, it goes in. It was just a game where really you guys, in many senses, dominated the action, but just couldn't get a score in regulation. And that's what happens sometimes. You can go that overtime shootout. Crazy things happen, and credit Vanguard for the victory.
Yeah, for sure. Soccer is a cruel game in that respect, that you can dominate, you know, have 22 shots on frame, and I mean 22 shots total, 13 on frame, and they had 5 shots and end up winning in a shootout. So, yeah, kudos to them, and it was a tough loss for sure, but guys had a great year.
And then in perspective, that is definitely something we wanted to talk about, because in many respects, maybe the best season ever for Wildcat men's soccer. 18-1-1 on the year. You guys won the conference regular season and postseason championship. A stretch of 17 consecutive wins. that's not too shabby. It's certainly a season they can be proud of.
Absolutely. I think, technically we haven't lost since August 29th.
Exactly.
Still. So we carry that over into next season and look forward to starting that off. But, it was a great year, obviously, winning 17 games straight and rolling into the national tournament. Was a great place to be. Some great performances from a lot of guys this year. And so we're super excited about what next year brings. We're returning a lot of significantly high quality players, and look forward to kind of getting back in after the break and getting after it again.
One of the things we want to talk about, not only the team honors, but we had some individuals that just had outstanding seasons. Dylan Bronkema, outstanding senior defender, just named to the Capital One Academic All-American team, and in many regards, that might be one of the highest honors you can get, not only because you're being recognized for your academic and athletic achievements at one of the highest levels. So Dylan certainly proved himself an outstanding athlete and a student this year.
Yeah, he sure did. They are student athletes, so it's anytime somebody wins, a first-team all-academic award is tremendous. And Dylan was a tremendous leader for us. He'd been a leader all year. He was our mouthpiece in the back and was vocal in the locker room, on the pitch. And we're going to miss him for sure.
Another guy, not so maybe vocal outwardly, Tyrone Martin, kind of a quiet guy, but man, he had an outstanding season. The Crossroads League Player of the Year, very consistent, guy you guys could count on.
Yeah, without a doubt. Tyrone is a special player, somebody that I could definitely see playing at the next level. And so we'll see where God calls him, but he's a tremendous player who had a great impact on us in the 2 short years we had him. And we're going to miss him for sure.
A couple other guys, Corey Lopez, Keaton Albert was the Offensive Player of the Year, Corey Lopez, and Dylan Bronkema, first team all-conference. So represented very well at the conference level.
Yeah, for sure. Those guys are tremendous players. Obviously, returning Keaton and Corey next year will be strong for us, and we'll look for them to step up and really be more dominant than they were this year, honestly. There's a number of other guys that honestly could have been acknowledged at the conference level. We only had 17 goals scored on us this year in 20 games, so 0.85 goals against average. And Kyle Beamer's starting at center back all year, and obviously Josh Gepper in the goal are 2 guys that contributed greatly to that, as well as Jake Bierman at holding mid, who's a graduating senior. So yeah. We had an overall great team performance this year, and the guys really played well and gelled together well as a team, and it showed in the results.
Yeah, well, certainly a season they can look back on and be very proud of. So.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, thanks for coming on in and wrapping up the season with us, and hope you guys have a great off season.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it.
Well, that is all we have for you on this week's episode of Wildcat Week. If you have any comments or suggestions about the show, we'd like to hear from you. You can write us at WIWTV 4201 South Washington Street, Marion, Indiana 46953, or you can visit our website, WIWTV.com. You can watch past episodes and connect with us online, once again, at WIWTV.com. Well, we look forward to being back with you next week. So for all of us here, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Wildcat Week.